for that at the end before we go.
Okay, the Paramount deal. The Paramount deal is 7.7
That's it.
billion.
Fucking hell, the
That's
Paramount
okay,
deal,
baby. It's okay. Amazon, Paramount, all the same shit. They're always trying to get more subscribers. I'm not gonna lie to you. I woke up. I was a little upset. Only reason why is I was hoping Netflix would have got it so it could help my stock and Netflix go up. But I was happy that it went to. I was happy that they went to a streaming platform where they keep it at $9.99 or $21.99, no ads or whatever. I was okay with it. I was totally fine, right? Like the only reason why I have ESPN Plus was for the UFC. But for 7.7 billion, I think a lot of people got to understand that we don't know if it's all cash. Is it stock options? What exactly is the deal? Because a lot of people are like, oh, how much money the fighter's going to get from it? And I was like, well, we don't know if it's all cash, right? If it's not all cash, it's going to be bought in stock or whatever. Because even Dana White said himself, we don't even know how the deal is going to play out. We don't even know, are they getting, Dana White's Contender Series? Are they getting Power Slap? Are they getting, what exactly are they getting? But I woke up and I was like, good for the UFC, $7.7 billion. Good for them. Next thing. So I'm happy. I'm excited. I can't wait to see how it is. Because I have Paramount Plus. I have for South Park. I have for other things too. So it's just going to be, delete ESPN Plus, go to Paramount Plus.
Dude, Paramount Plus making some big moves. South Park and the UFC within a month. I tell you.
Oh, dude.
Those are some big buys.
Yeah.
Real big buys. But I do agree. This was really good. Normally I have some shit to say. This is a big deal for the UFC because if you would have asked the average UFC fan before the event of Ilya versus Oliveira, what do you think about the current state of the UFC? They would say very openly, it's the worst it's been. It's somewhat the worst. Like, it's been very bad, at least recently. Like, we haven't had any hires. So the fact that they've secured this deal at a time where we didn't have that big marquee star is very well timed for them. And I'm sure that Paramount are like, yes, Ilya fucking won.
Oh,
we can get the Ilya Makhachev fight. You know what I mean? They're happy with Ilya's victory, of course. But I think it's a huge deal for the UFC. Massive deal. I mean, I have some investments and I'm pretty sure Paramount is under the umbrella of that. I was kind of hoping that maybe Netflix would get included as well, but it all goes full circle. You know what I mean? Once you get your investments going. So I'm glad. It's almost like I'm doing good for my investments even by talking about the UFC and helping promote the card. And then I get it all around on the back end anyway. It's good, dude. It's a good life.
Well, I would say this. It is all full circle because if you look at the company of Paramount Plus, at one point in time, it was called Viacom. And Viacom was trying to get into that business of mixed martial arts. Little behold, it was an organization called Bellator.
Spot.
And Bellator was there. They had, Bjorn Redney, I believe his name was. They brought in Scott Coker. And then eventually they realized they didn't have the stars. They didn't have the same type of marketing power or the marketing machine that the UFC does. What does Bellator do? They sell to PFL. They get outside of the business, right? Then they restructure. They change their name from Viacom to Paramount Plus. And what ends up happening? Now Paramount Plus owns the streaming rights to the biggest organization in the world when it comes to mixed martial arts, the UFC. So full circle. I thought that was kind of cool where it was like, you know what? And that's what businesses do. Businesses they try to start from the ground up and build it up. And if they can't do it, they're like, fuck it, we're getting out of it. And then when they have an opportunity to buy some, share or some form of it, when it's already
some
built
ownership
up, some ownership that's already built up, that's exactly what they did. So when you said full circle moment, Viacom now owns the UFC, when before Viacom was the owner of Bellator, shelling out big ass paychecks to Michael Chandler, the Pitbull brothers, Patchy Mix, Sergio Pettis. I mean, Sergio Pettis told me he made more money fighting for Bellator than he did in the UFC because they were really trying to get more athletes. But if history has shown that you need the key star athletes or you need to have the biggest name in the game, which is the UFC, and to be able to generate buzz, and obviously Bellator couldn't do it, so they just bought UFC. They bought the streaming rights to the UFC via Paramount Plus. So good for them.
Yeah, I think this is a really good move for the UFC. I mean, 1.1 billion a year. We're bound to see fighter pay increase, which maybe we can get into in a second. But I wanted to check this thing first because you said a full circle moment. Paramount Paramount Network, Spike TV, a former American cable channel, rebranded as Paramount Network in 2018. The rebranding was part of a larger strategy by Viacom. So Spike TV, talk about full circle. You talked about this with Viacom that used to own Bellator, now they own the UFC. Full circle even more. Complete this circle. That was Spike TV back in the day that gave the UFC their first deal. After Forrest Griffin versus Stephen Bonner. They cut the deal. They got them on television. It did massive things for the UFC. I wonder if that was, because we all thought Netflix. We thought Netflix, some other thing, Prime Video, who knows what they're going to do. Paramount wasn't really, it was an option, but it wasn't a front runner that people thought they were going to go for. I wonder if the UFC really thought, and you know how Dana is about if you've helped him once. He's got your back forever type thing, you know, with even some of the Trump stuff, you know, I bet you he doesn't even agree with much, but he's just loyal to Trump because he helped him out early doors. But I feel like with this, I reckon there was a part of it, like, this is Spike TV. They gave us the way in the first place. I wonder if there was maybe a slightly better deal, you know what I mean, with a company that maybe would be a bit nitpicky and asking for, I feel like they like the relationship with these guys. You know, they've worked with them before. They know them.
And I also feel they've had the numbers from Spike TV, right? So they know what they've already got in the past. Like, this was back in the past. This is way back in the day when Spike TV was Spike TV was known for fucking UFC, right? You never go to Spike TV for anything else. And then they lose UFC. UFC goes to Fox. They see Fox numbers go up pretty high. Pay-per-views kind of on the rise still because you had Conor, Ronda, and those guys are all fighting. And then they go to ESPN Plus. Pay-per-views are starting on a decline, but ESPN subscriber base is up essentially. And then it's almost like, well, let's get out of the pay-per-view business because that's pretty much fucking dead. You look at HBO Max, Disney Plus, Hulu, Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime Video. They're all, they get you in. Oh, it's $9.99. 6 months later, hey, we have the ad tier, then we have the basic tier, and then we have the premium tier where there's no ads. They reel you in.
Give me that.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
They'll get me.
I'm going for the premium tier. I ain't got time for these fucking commercials. I think that Paramount Plus was like, dude, we saw the numbers back in the day. Look at their numbers now. We don't give a fuck about pay-per-view points, pay-per-view buys. We just want as many subscribers as much. If we get, you know, all these new subscribers to our platform, we already got the South Parks. We already got all the other people. Now, if we get the sports side of it, it's just a huge win for Paramount Plus. Will they see their investment? I think Paramount Plus is only worth like $6.6 billion. So that deal from the UFC is worth more than Paramount Plus itself. But will they make that money back on the back end with the subscriber growth going to the premium tier, not just the basic tier? So we'll have to see.
I think they fucking, I hate the adverts. There's so many of them. I feel like we're being, like, I want to say sorry to the UFC sometimes that we witnessed a first round KO because now we're being waterboarded with 30 minutes of adverts. Like, sorry, we'll take a decision next time. Please stop. I don't want to watch any more adverts. Like, it really does get to that point with the UFC. So if they put out some kind of like ad-free mode, then that is A-okay with me, because I don't know what fucking business has somehow got away with that bullshit. Buying a pay-per-view, $80, and I'm still watching ads. I'm not paying $80 because it's a different service in the UK. I'm paying to watch this. I pay £5 for YouTube Premium. I'll never see an advert again. I pay $80 for this night of UFC fights. And every time there's a finish, there's half an hour of adverts. It's too much. If Paramount is listening, you can do better. You can change the advert game of the UFC, and I hope that they do. But the no pay-per-view part of it is a big part of it. Never a pay-per-view again, right?
Now, if that is the case, and you have pay-per-view points in your deal, you only start making money once you hit 200,000 pay-per-view buys. So there could be $1, it could be $1.50. I've heard it go up to $5, right? But if
they call that the Nunes loophole.
Yeah, there you go.
That stop them having to share any shares with Nunes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nunes, you've got to sell over 200K. Whoops.
Yeah. Well,
that was in the fine print.
Yeah, but that's how the pay-per-view points were structured back in when I was competing. And I don't think they got away from that. But if you sell 225,000 pay-per-views, you're getting a check for $25,000. So it's not really, oh, I need pay-per-view points. 250, same thing. I think they're getting away from that because the Conor is gone. Like Conor was the biggest pay-per-view draw out there, doing like, 800,000 to 1.5 million draws, buys. So that's where the pay-per-view was a sexy model. But now the UFC doesn't really need to build stars, right? People are always going to tune into UFC fights because one, there's nothing else to fucking watch. And two, like it's such a big brand. Like you can have guys come up from Dana White's Contender Series and they say, oh, this guy's great. They go to the UFC and then next thing you know, they're on the show and people still, they might not, they don't buy it, right? So if you get to a point where it's like, hey, Paramount Plus, pay $9.99 a month, you get all the pay-per-views, perfect. You ain't got to worry about trying to hit that pay-per-view points every single month. So that's why I think they're okay at getting away from the pay-per-view points. But if they do the White House card, is that going to be pay-per-view or is that going to be on Paramount Plus? We'll find out because that's next year. That's in 2026. That's next July.
Yeah, that's happening.
So
that's happening. Dana White said he would maybe bring it back for a one-off. So that would be the type of event where if you want to watch the White House card, you're not getting it for $10 a month.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Yeah,
and I wonder what price they would put that. I wonder if it'd be higher. Like they do an $100 card if it was
$120 a month.
Maybe.
120. No, excuse me, $120 to buy probably
for the card. Yeah, maybe. But the no pay-per-view thing though, that is something I really wanted to mention because I'm scared. When I saw no pay-per-views, I was worried. Because it was the first thing I worried about when there was no more crowds. Because with that being your bottom line of like you have to get people to part with $80 for you to be a successful business, it comes with a demand. Like you have to like supply a certain quality or you will not maintain that formula. And that has not been maintained. And maybe that's not been maintained and we're no longer doing pay-per-views because of how weak they've been recently. But I feel like when it's almost good to have the pay-per-view model in a way and good to have big crowded events that are already plotted out because it creates this sort of like looming pressure on the company to be like, we got to sell out this fucking arena. We got to make sure this is an $80. We got to make sure people are willing to part with $80 for this card. Now they've taken that away and they're looking to expand the Apex now they're talking about and they're not doing a pay-per-view anymore. I wonder if it's going to take away that pressure on them to deliver. I wonder if they are going to start churning it out. And this is what we've noticed over the past year when it comes to like, the mum and pop shop making their money, just churning out any old thing. I wonder if what we were experiencing for the past year was just the start of that. And it might go on in the future to be, oh, they're just churning it out now because no matter the month, there's no difference. It's $10 a month. So you're getting $10 for this and you're getting $10 for that. What's the point in massively stacking a card if you're going to charge someone the same amount as the shitty card last month?
Well,
this is why I'm worried.
Yeah, I think for the hardcores, I think like you, Michael, the guys who are hardcore and they want banger after banger after banger, or just some more, thought process stacked cards. Yeah. I think you guys are going to get hit hard. I truly believe that. But I think, for my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, I think they're going to be extremely happy because they're like, hey, I'm just watching fights. Like they watch everything under the sun, to PFL, to One Championship, to fucking Dana White Contender Series. They don't watch slap fighting. They watch everything. And they think the UFC is at its best point. Like they just think it's absolutely amazing, right? So I think the hardcore is going to get hit hard. And I think your everyday mom and pop shop, they're going to be loving business. They're going to be loving the content. They're going to be able to watch and see all the time. And, and then when they do finally put a stacked card together, they're like, oh, this is even better. We get a bonus and we're still paying $10.99. So I think with the UFC getting that $7.7 billion deal, I think the stress is going to be relieved off them. Hopefully out of that, fighter pay will go up. The only way we'll tell is when we get another athlete on here on the show and talk to them like, hey, what's your pay?
You noticed anything?
You notice any different? Like when I was a champion, I was making $350 at the show, 10,000 escalator, pay-per-view points at this point. That was back in 2017. Where are you at now in 2026 or 2027? What's the standard, are you getting $1 million? What is it going to be? So only time will tell.
Even a guy who makes his debut, I want to ask, how much you get for your debut now? What's the debut wage? Because it was 10 for 10. Now it's become 14 for 14 for the lower weight classes and kind of 20 for 20 for some of the higher weight classes. A lot of people say, it's 10 for 10. But if you look at some of the light heavyweights, they do get signed for something like 20 for 20, which is still quite low. So I wonder if they're going to change the standard or if they're going to just let it be a case-by-case basis based on the fighter. I wonder if they will raise the standard, because I think they should. They should raise the standard just a tad with this.
Yeah.
Give them 20 for 20 and they're making their debut. It's not a crazy improvement. You're not doubling the wage. Just, I'd say sprinkle it out like that. Just give it a nice even thing. But I don't know if the UFC fighters are going to get any pay increase. It's a
well, if history repeats itself, I don't think anybody got a pay increase when ESPN Plus was signed. So, we'll have to wait and see. But once again, we don't know if it's a cash deal or if it's stock. What exactly is that $7.7 billion deal?
Yeah. How much are the shareholders getting of this? Exactly. $7.7 billion. You know what I mean? Because that's what people need to. People hear business, they just giving them 7.7 billion cash.
Exactly.
I'm like, dude, there's some fucking absolute tyrant, bald, fat fuck somewhere. Like Dana White on HGH 2.0 wallowing in like mud going, where's my billion investment? Like these guys want their money back. They're down. Yeah. They're into the company. But like they're probably down hundreds of millions, some of these guys. So with these deals going on, a lot of it is to like appease certain people that have a stake, certain people that have this. So it's not all going to the UFC. It's not going to be on Dana's desk, this 7.7 billion. And he's going to go, this was for the fighters.
This is for fight night. This is fight night bonuses. This is, it's going to be, hopefully when we get closer to 2026, when they make that transition away from ESPN Plus and they're fully on Paramount Plus, hopefully we'll get more about the numbers of the deal. And I know once they announced that deal with Paramount Plus, the TKO stock went up, I think $8 to $9, and then Paramount Plus kind of stayed flat on as stock price. So, but because they're still waiting to see how that deal is going to mature. Is it cash? Is it stock? And that will kind of give us more of an indicator of how the money can be allocated to the fighters.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a fighter, though. Last topic on this, on the fighter pay. I wonder if there's a fighter out there that signed a pay-per-view share deal, like just before this happened. Yep. Can you imagine? Because one of these new champions, like what if Ilya Topuria for his Oliveira fight signed a nice 10% of the pay-per-view deal, and now he's just like, what the fuck? You guys you sign a 10% of all pay-per-views, they remove the pay-per-views. That probably happened.
Yeah.
I would imagine that has happened, where a lot of these title fighters are now like, where's my fucking pay-per-view percentage going to come from, But this is so hard to see. We'll never know unless they come out and say like, hey, and this is the thing. I think that, it's a taboo in the sport where I would love for one of the guys goes, yeah, man, I have pay-per-view points, but you know what? The UFC did right by me. They came back and say, hey, we're going to kind of like offset that pay-per-view points. Where it's like, hey, we haven't been really selling much pay-per-view, so we're going to give you like a, $250,000 pay increase to, offset, $250,000 pay, offset. So that means you would have to sell about 450,000 pay-per-view points, 450,000 buys pay-per-view. And they're like, we haven't got nowhere near that. So we're just going to go ahead and give you a nice incentive like, hey, my bad. Here's extra $250,000 on top of your show money. That's how I would do it, right? Because we don't know what Ilya Topuria sold when he fought Charles Oliveira. We don't know, right? Yeah, we don't. But Michael was saying GSP and Anderson Silva have been critical of this for that reason, because they made a lot of their money with the pay-per-view. Yep. I bet you Anderson's still getting paid for some pay-per-view. Yeah, right? A lot of these guys, Uriah Faber. Yep. He's probably cashing a check once a month still for some fight with Jose Aldo way back when. So it was a lot better for fighters back in the day if they were the pay-per-view star, of course.
Yes.
But I want to mention this. This could lead to the UFC revealing more pay while not paying more. Because the pay-per-view shares were never disclosed pay.
Yep.
But if to replace the pay-per-view shares that are no longer going to be a thing, the UFC starts increasing the fight purse to make up for it, then those numbers are released. So you may see something, to UFC fans out there, you're going to start seeing the purse, because we always get numbers back and it says 500K for Ilya Topuria. And real ones know it's not 500K.
No.
That's his purse. He's probably making about 3 or 4 million or 2 million extra in the pay-per-view or whatever kind of deal he has. Because I bet you Ilya's making a couple mil a fight at this point.
I would like to think so.
At least making more than the 500K they're saying.
100%. But here's the tricky thing, right? It's like, if his deal's tied up with pay-per-view points, right? I get 500,000 a show and let's say I'm gonna give you a percentage of the pay-per-view, but you got to make that threshold, And if he doesn't make that threshold, they're not obligated to give him more, but they do, right? They do give, incentive bonus. Hey, thanks, man. You fucking killed it. They do that. But, we'll never know truly what an athlete makes unless they come out and say like, hey, I fought for the UFC from this point to this point, and this is what I made X, Y, and Z, right? Because we're always...
I just want to make sure... I just want to make sure the fan base is aware that when you next see the fighter pay disclosed for an event, it's all going to be show money.
Yep.
So you're not going to... You're going to see what was hidden, but they might show you less than what was actually hidden before. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Maybe it's a weird thing to understand, but I think that's understandable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like when they're going to show you the purse.
Yep.
And they've always shown you the purse, but now it's all purse.
Yes.
So it's going to look way more, and the headlines are going to be, this one's now making 2 million, 3 million.
That's what they're making before.
That guy could have been making 4 or 5.
Yep.
This guy could have been making 4 or 5 before, and we didn't know that before, but now we know it. They might get away with making us feel like these guys are getting paid more, but they're actually not. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.